Magic's latest set, The Brothers' War, is an interesting one with tons of cool card designs and the return of the Strixhaven Mystical Archive format with the Retro Artifact series. However, it is the most complicated set in terms of what is actually in it, with so many variants that it took me about 20 minutes just to write down each version of each type of card. So let's talk about that. Is it really that complex? I mean, from a collector standpoint, there can't be that many variants. Well, there's only a couple. There's normal non-foil cards, normal traditional foil cards, extended non-foil cards, extended traditional foil cards, borderless non-foil cards, borderless foil cards, foil pre-release promos, non-foil traditional retro artifacts, traditional foil retro artifacts, non-foil schematic retro artifacts, foil schematic retro artifacts, and this one's not a joke, double rainbow foil schematic serialized retro artifacts. We have non-foil transformers, foil transformers, non-foil shattered glass transformers that are printed in all languages, but foil shattered glass transformers that are only printed in English. Then we have Jumpstart only but standard legal rares with extended art versions of those as well, with foil extended art versions of those as well. But then there's also extended art Brothers War Commander cards that aren't legal in standard, retro frame versions of those found in the Commander decks, foil extended art versions of those cards found in collector boosters. There's also Brothers War Commander cards that aren't in any of the Commander decks that can only be found in boosters, and there's traditional versions of those, traditional foil versions of those, extended versions of those, and traditional foil extended versions of those. But there's also no normal version of any of the cards in the actual precons. On top of the list, art cards, buy box promos, bundle promos, FNM promos, and more. There are so many different types of cards that you can get, not to mention basic lands versus foil basic lands compared to full art lands compared to foil full art lands. There are so many different versions, and it's a headache to keep track of. But is it really a problem? I mean, typically more choices is just better, so why am I addressing this like it's a big problem for the Magic community? And it's because I think it is. A part of it comes with confusion. For example, if I were to ask you right now, what is in a set booster in the Brothers War, could you tell me? Or better yet, could you tell me what's in a collector booster? There are so many different types of cards with so many different terminologies, all of different rarities, that some are legal in some formats, some are legal in others, and it is just overall confusing. And it kind of gets to the point where people are willing to just buy things not knowing what they are. For example, I was in a local game store recently and I heard someone say, I don't really know what's in a collector booster. And I told them, oh, you can go to the Wizards thing. It's kind of confusing, but you can kind of figure it out. And they did that and they're like, I still don't know what it is. I guess I'll just buy it. And I feel like this just creates this pattern of people just buying products blindly, not understanding what is like actually inside of them, which I feel is a really unhealthy thing for the game. When people stop caring about what's inside their products, it allows Wizards of the Coast to create more subpar products, and they won't be able to feel it financially. And I really think that the greatest way to get through to a company is obviously with your wallet. And I feel this confusion they're creating is just trying to kind of distract away from, pointing out the serious issues with certain products. Personally, I love the Brothers War. I found the set to be really, really interesting. The story seemed pretty cool. I love the retro artifacts. They just add value to the packs. It drives down the prices of singles, which is really great. Makes the game much easier to get into. But you open a pack, and let's say I open a set booster. Some of the cards are going to be standard legal and would be normally found inside of a booster. Those are fine. But then we're going to have some Jumpstart cards which aren't found inside of draft boosters, but they are standard legal. So, okay, that's fine. They're still standard legal. But then we have the list cards, which could be anywhere from standard legal to banned in every format, technically. It could be a Commander card, which is only going to be legal in Commander Legacy and Vintage and maybe Pauper, but I don't think there's any commons of those. You could get a bunch of different variants of that, but then you also have the retro artifacts, which are going to be legal in a variety of formats. And overall, I feel like it's becoming one of those things where if you are just an average Magic player, you just don't understand what's going on. And those are some of the worst situations. Imagine a person who is buying their first couple Magic products and decides, you know what, I want to go to my local game store and play standard, or I'm going to play with just the new cards. They go to their local game store and then they pull out, a Chromatic Star or a Foundry Inspector out of their Brothers War booster, and then think that, oh, I can run that. It just overall seems really confusing. kind of unnecessarily. I think there needs to be a better way of distinguishing what's what. Yes, I appreciate that they have different icons on them, but it just doesn't help that there are so many different versions of so many different things. Why, for example, is there not a traditional, like not foil, not extended art, not retro frame version of each of the Commander cards? I feel like there's just so many little things where it doesn't make sense and overall just confuses people. And I think that that is something that overall in the long run will hurt the game. Eventually people stop caring, they stop paying attention, and that just leads to decreased sales, which I guess is kind of what I'm hoping for in the end. I hope people, I don't want Magic to die. Obviously, I enjoy the game of Magic, but I do think there needs to be changes. I am normally a very optimistic person. Again, I love the Brothers War, but this amount of diversity in types of cards is insane and it's impossible to keep up with. When you add the fact that, for example, in less than 2 weeks, Jumpstart 2022 comes out alongside the starter Commander decks. In addition, we have Dominaria Remastered a couple weeks later, followed by Phyrexia All Will Be One a couple weeks after that. We are going to be so overloaded with products that not only are there so many different product types per like set that comes out, but there are so many sets that then it makes it even harder. I'm trying to just wrap my head around just the Brothers War, and now in just a couple weeks I'm gonna have to be worrying about what's in a Jumpstart booster. How are the Jumpstart boosters made? Like, are there collector Jumpstart boosters, which I don't believe there are, but there are showcase styles which weren't in the first Jumpstart, and overall I just am really not liking the direction this is going. I'm fine with Magic being both something you can play and something you can collect, but I feel like there are better ways of doing it. Let's say, if we look back on the set, what if they just did every card is printed in the normal frame, and then if they want to do some fancy showcase, some cards are given the retro frame. Think about it like that. The retro artifacts would then be inside of their retro frames with the schematic art, and the normal art would be inside of the normal frame, and then put some sort of like disclaimer, make a standardized symbol for this isn't standard legal, and put those on those cards. Then the Commander decks could be maybe brought out in a normal version and a retro version, and then the only two types of cards we're dealing with are normal frame and retro frame. Or take everything that's standard legal, put it in a standard frame, and everything that's not standard legal, put it in a retro frame. That'd be a really easy way to signal, hey, if it's in the normal frame, you can use it in standard, and if it's not a standard legal card. I feel like there's just a much more intuitive way that these boosters could be designed, and I just don't think I think there were just so many ideas and they're all competing for attention. There's so many different ways you can get non-standard legal boosters. They've seen that Commander has become one of the most popular formats in the world, and they pretty much have just said, okay, let's make every set a set that is needed to play Commander. There's so many good Commander cards in this set, and that's great. It is the most popular format, but I would like a little break from it. I do love the retro artifacts. Again, I'm not trying to bash on the Brothers War. I think it's an amazing set, but I want to know your guys' thoughts. There's this big product fatigue, and the fact that even if I'm like focused on a singular product, which a lot of the time that's how I get through product fatigue, is yes, there's so many products going on, but this product is really cool and I'm going to pay attention to this one extra hard. And that's how I felt with the Brothers War. We're going back in time, seeing old Magic. We have the retro artifacts, a lot of really cool things, but it makes it hard to even focus on one thing. And I think that overall just discourages people from even trying. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Do you feel like there are too many variants? I think the first sign of this was Teferi back in M21 with like the 7 versions of Teferi. I'm glad we haven't really done that again, but it's starting to feel like it. I wish there was a little more consistency, but yeah. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this style of video where I talk more about Magic as a whole and my thoughts on it, hit that like button and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.